What up, Cavs Nation? I'm your host, Ethan Sands, and I'm back with another episode of the Wine and Gold Talk podcast. And joining me today, Chris, Fedor, cleveland.com Cavs beat reporter, and Jimmy Watkins, cleveland.com columnist. And we're coming to you guys after the Cavs' latest loss, 136-125 to the Chicago Bulls. It's a second loss to Chicago in 48 hours, gentlemen. And this is a team that gave up 136 points, which is the second most they've given up all season. The only other team to score more against the Cleveland Cavaliers this season is the Miami Heat in the overtime contest that they had on November 10th. Another interesting thing when it comes to this Cavs team and what they've been dealing with all season, they played in 17 clutch contests per NBA.com. They are 6-11 in those contests, 35.3%. And when you look at today's contest, we understand that the Cavs' offensive identity is in flux. We understand that the defensive identity with Evan Mobley not on the floor is drastically different. But the Cavs allowed 30 or more points in all four quarters and were held below 30 points in two of those frames themselves. This is a game that was indicative of the ebbs and flows that the Cavs have been dealing with. Chris, Jimmy, where are you guys most concerned about this team?
I think it's the defense. For Chicago to score 136 against the Cavs, teams are just finding it too easy to break down the Cavs defense. And if they're going to get back to the team that they ultimately want to be, it's got to be better. There has to be more effort there. There has to be more of a commitment there. There's got to be more communication there. There's got to be more of a willingness to run and get back in transition. The other night against Chicago had their best shooting night all season. It wasn't a coincidence that it came against the Cavs. Teams are doing that over and over and over again. The Washington Wizards had their third best offensive performance against the Cavs, and that night Washington didn't have 4 of their top 8 leading scorers. So it's just too easy for these other teams going up against the Cavs defense. If you watch the Detroit Pistons, if you watch the Oklahoma City Thunder, if you watch the Houston Rockets, all these other teams that claim that they're defense-first teams, it's hard. They contest passes. They make passes very, very difficult. The driving lanes are cut off. There's multiple efforts. It's different. The Cavs just don't do the kinds of things that great defenses do consistently. And 136 is just way too much. Way too much. Kenny Atkinson said it after the game, guys, the Cavs scored 125. That should be enough. Many times last year, that was enough. Many times in years past, that was enough. But the way that the Cavs are defending right now, it's not even close to good enough. And until they get that right, and until they find some temporary solutions without Evan Mobley, these kinds of losses are going to continue. Chicago has won 3 games since November 23rd. 3. And 2 of them have come against the Cavs in the last 48 hours.
We're past the point of the Cavs saying things that aren't true about their defense. I think they're saying things that they just can't possibly believe. The idea that they're a defensive first, I mean, let's be serious at this point. You had this big film session, players only meeting, week off from this big reset. They needed it. It was accountability. We're embarrassed by what we've seen on film. This stuff will humble you. They were saying all the right things, like they always do. They know what's wrong with them. They just don't fix it. They just don't fix it, right? Since this big turning point that was supposed to be a reset for them, they're 1-3 against 3 of the worst teams in the NBA. They're giving up 130 points, 120 points on the regular to bad offenses, short-handed offenses in the Wizards and the Hornets case. And they're saying things like, I guess what are they supposed to say when Chris asks them, are they close to fixing this? Right? Like, what really legitimately, if you say no, that's probably not good, right?
Right.
But that to me, that's closer to the truth than I thought. I liked our fight tonight, and we competed for 48. No, you didn't. Like, factually, no, you didn't. And I'm sure we're going to get into this schematic conversation about, like, should you be crashing off the latest NBA craze that Kenny's trying to implement into the fold here? Oh, you can crash 3+ guys on the offensive boards, and you can still get back on defense. It's been proven, Kenny keeps saying. I don't care about that. It has been proven at large. I don't know if it actually has been proven over and over again. That's not the case with this team, but I digress. I'm not concerned about schematics right now. I'm concerned about, are you running back fast enough? It is the most basic thing you can ask someone to do on defense. After a miss, after a make, it doesn't matter. The Chicago Bulls, for 2 straight games, it was at least twice, if not more, have taken the ball out of the basket, thrown it over their heads, and gotten an easy layup. That should never happen for a professional basketball team. And I just want to make this disclaimer. When we talk about tonight's game, I'm going to be talking about it through the lens of this recent stretch that they had since I'm going to call it the film session of truth, where accountability was preached and they were supposed to get past all this stuff. They clearly have. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the film session actually was about or what people were doing during it, but the lessons that were being taught have not been learned. Okay? But obviously the Cavs are shorthanded tonight. This particular game is not the game to point at and say, wow, this team's broken. Tyrese Proctor got his first career start. It's a lot of Naquan Tomlin. It's a lot of lineups who are not familiar playing with each other. It's a lot of Thomas Bryant, no one's idea of a rim protector, right? But it's the same issues that are showing up. And for the mainstays, guys like DeAndre Hunter and Darius Garland, like, you don't get that excuse. You guys don't get that excuse. You guys are not playing hard enough. It's a repetitive issue. And that is, you can't even do the bare minimum. Like, how many games do you have to lose before you start caring enough about these things to try harder? Because I think that's where we're at right now. Forget schematics, forget lineup combinations, forget all of that. These guys, and I'm putting this on Kenny too, Kenny can't get these guys to play hard. That's insane.
There are stretches where they play hard. They went on a 9-0 run. They played hard. Lonzo grabbed, or he got a deflection after it looked like the Bulls were going to get a rebound. But you're right. The consistency continues to wane for this team when it comes to effort, when it comes to energy, when it comes to playing hard, when it comes to sprinting back, when it comes to cutting with a purpose in the half-court set. Like, all these different things that should be prerequisites for them. They're just not doing at a consistent, high enough level.
Jimmy, you mentioned the injuries that the Cavs are dealing with. Donovan Mitchell, illness. Craig Porter Jr., illness. Both out. And then obviously we knew coming into tonight's game, Max Strus, Sam Merrill, Larry Nance Jr., and Evan Mobley were all going to be unavailable. So who do you turn to in those moments of truth? Jared Allen? Well, he had 1 field goal attempt in the entire first half. Can't happen, especially when you have 2 of the other core 4 members out. Darius Garland carried your weight offensively. Defensively, we're having a completely different conversation. Jared Allen then said after the game that he was more so looking to pass out of the roll rather than looking to get his own shot. In the second half, he was more aggressive because of how the defense was guarding him. Sure, that makes sense, and I think Jared Allen is one of the most honest conversations with on any given night, and he's going to tell it how it is. He's going to be upfront with you. If he wasn't aggressive enough from the get-go, he would have told us that. Still, 1 shot attempt in the first half is unacceptable, and then you see it kind of turn itself into the complete opposite in the second half, where he had 8 shot attempts and was 6 of 9 when the game all came to an end. He had 12 rebounds as well, 14 and 12, which is a double-double for the big man. I think when you have these players out, when you know that you're going to be relying on these role players, these younger stars, these players that are coming up, you need guys like Jared Allen to be able to do multiple things. The other portion of this, that was the beginning of the game. The end of the game, Kenny Atkinson, you got to see Tyrese Proctor, Thomas Bryant, Naquan Tomlin make an impact in the fourth quarter. They had guys that were in the negatives significantly. Lonzo Ball and DeAndre Hunter. Lonzo Ball had a plus minus of -7 in the fourth quarter alone, playing 9 minutes. DeAndre Hunter played 6 minutes, was a -11, and still Kenny Atkinson decided to continue going to his veterans, trusting in his guys, rather than, as we've had conversations on this podcast at length, going to the players that are, one, having the better game, and two, simply have younger and healthier legs down the stretch. Tyrese Proctor and Naquan Tomlin should have finished tonight's game, especially with the shooting that Tyrese Proctor had been bringing. And I think this is an instance where, again, Kenny Atkinson made the wrong call at the end of the game, and it shifted how the game finished.
I know what you're saying about Jarrett. I do. But he finished with a double-double. He had 12 rebounds. He had 5 assists. 4 of those were in the first half. They need more from DeAndre Hunter. If we want to circle somebody, that's the guy. That's the guy. Because when other guys are out, there's more opportunity. There are more shot attempts. He is a scorer. That's what he does for this team. That's what he's supposed to do for this team. Jarrett's a rim protector. Jarrett's an interior anchor. Jarrett's somebody who finishes defensive possessions with the rebounds. Jarrett is somebody who's reliant on his guards to get him the basketball. DeAndre is different. The ball's going to be in his hands. He's going to be able to attack. He's going to be able to make shots every now and then. Like, they need more consistently from somebody like DeAndre Hunter, especially during this stretch where Evan Mobley is out, where they're missing some of these scoring weapons. And DeAndre's got to be a better defender too. So if, like, he's not giving them what they need offensively, and he's not, and he has been one of the worst defenders in the entire NBA, and he has been. And if he's not going to consistently finish possessions with defensive rebounds, then yes, I do think the next step for Kenny, he's already taken him out of the starting lineup. He's moved him into the 6-man role. He said he likes some of the signs that he's seeing from DeAndre. But yes, I think the next step is pulling his minutes back, especially in meaningful moments throughout the course of the game, because he just has not been good enough. He has not been what the Cavs traded for. He has not been what the Cavs expected coming into this season, and they need more from him. And until they get more consistency and reliability from him, we're going to have a lot of these same conversations.
DeAndre is lost out there right now.
I turned to somebody tonight and I said, like, did he lose his puppy or something? Like, did something happen with him from a personal standpoint? Because he just didn't look engaged and he looks completely lost out there. There's no joy coming from him. Remember last year when he was playing alongside Ty Jerome and he figured out how to do this 3-point celebration thing? Like, that was emotion that not a lot of people even in Atlanta saw from DeAndre. And you're like, oh man, like, this is a new DeAndre. He's in a new situation. He's in a new environment. He's got a chance to play winning basketball. He looks happy. He looks healthy. You're not seeing any of that from DeAndre this year.
He's forcing shots. He's pressing. It's clearly bleeding over into his defense. Remember when the Cavs traded for DeAndre Hunter? And we heard it from Kobe. We heard it from Kenny. We heard it from Chris, who probably heard it from someone in the organization about this stretch of game for the Atlanta Hawks when DeAndre Hunter guarded Victor Wembanyama. Is that the only stretch of defense you guys watched in the Cavs organization of DeAndre Hunter? He's a college defensive player of the year. College was a long time ago. I think I said this in the summer. I think it would surprise most casual Cavs fans who've been reading what the Cavs pump out about DeAndre Hunter to learn two things. One, DeAndre Hunter is a better offensive player than a defensive player. I mean, that's not true this year, although it might still be true because he's bad at both. I don't know. That's an exercise I don't care to give myself a headache doing right now, actually. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care to figure that out. What do you think DeAndre Hunter thinks he is? More a scorer or a defender? I think we're seeing it in real time. He's not making shots. It's bleeding over to his defense. He's Him and Darius Garland had two of the most egregious, and I know the Cavs are taught to crash, and I asked Jared Allen point blank, because Ethan was talking to him about this offensive rebounding philosophy, and you guys have a bunch of bodies and you're angled toward the basket, whatever, and Jared's saying, we're facing the basket. It's hard for us to run with them. Here's Darius's case. Matas Buzelis does a literal jumping jack. His feet leave the ground, trying to contest Darius on a corner three. This ain't one of these three-pointers that bounce off the back rim and start a fast break. It dies off the front rim. It basically, I don't know if someone caught it or it bounced right under the basket, but it landed very near the rim. Matas Buzelis is in the air while Darius is landing. Matas Buzelis runs past everyone, gets an open two-handed dunk. Okay? Darius is jogging back. DeAndre Hunter, same thing. He's in the corner. Shot goes up. There are three guys under the rim. That's not great. But his guy, Kevin Huerter, Red Velvet. I think if we lined up Kevin Huerter, I don't think we'd think he'd be route running a lot of guys. Kevin Huerter runs the other way. The Bulls throw an outlet pass. DeAndre Hunter's not in the freaking picture. It's an easy 2 points. It's not asking a lot. No one's asking Darius Garland to be first team all defense. We're really not. Especially on a night like tonight, where he really had to go. This is obviously the most encouraging signs we've seen from Darius Garland on the offensive end all night. Jumper was falling. He's getting in the paint. He's throwing his crazy passes, and they're getting through for the most part. Turnovers are kind of the cost of business when you have a creative playmaker. That's how it goes. But we just be alert. Just be engaged. Just try on defense. And DeAndre Hunter, again, when you're in a slump, there's a lot to think about, and he's clearly thinking about it. But just control what you can control, man. I sound like a press conference now. Just do the things. Do the easy things. The rest will come. Chris made it's a great, but he's like a zombie out there.
Yep.
I don't they need energy from him on both ends. He's guarding Josh Giddey. They have him on the most important player, and you're just floating through the game. You can't have that. And I to the Ethan's point about sticking with going to the young guys. If this was a winner take all game, sure, ride who's working. There's a bigger picture to consider here, and obviously DeAndre's going through it right now, and I think Kenny's weighing, I'm getting nothing from this guy. Playing him less would be good for us. Against, if I go away from this guy right now, he's still kind of new to us. Clearly, whatever DeAndre Hunter university we put him through in the offseason didn't quite work. And if I cut back his minutes further now, I might just lose this guy for the rest of the season or for a long stretch here. And that's not a guy they can afford. So this is, again, a guy who's supposed to be in their freaking closing lineup. Who's supposed to be in some of their best lineups. Supposed to be one of their, if there's a core five, he's supposed to be number 5. And so that's what Kenny's weighing right now. But it's totally valid to say this guy needs to play less, because not only is he not doing the thing that he's supposed to be doing in scoring the ball, he's not doing that well. Sometimes shots don't fall. That's fine. It's bleeding over into everything else. And he's lost his will to play hard.
There was a possession tonight on the defensive end for the Cavs where the Chicago Bulls grabbed 3 offensive rebounds in succession. And basically DeAndre Hunter was just doing the reverse of the dance moves, basically turning around and oh, my man's here, rebound. Oh, I can't get that. Oh, my man has the ball again, rebound. And his feet barely moved other than turning each way. And I think that's indicative of how he gets caught ball watching. Literally whenever the ball was going, his body would shift, but his body wouldn't move. Jimmy, to your point about the young guys and the situation and all these different things, it's not like Kenny Atkinson didn't bench him in the overtime game and didn't play him for the entire 5-minute overtime already, right? We've been to the point where he sat him in the fourth quarter. Why was tonight different? That's what it comes down to, mismanagement to me. It's situationally based, right? And if you're already going to tell me that you've gone away from him in stints, you've gone away from him in past recent games because his game wasn't there, and then Overall, tonight, he was a minus 13 on the floor. And again, as I mentioned, he was a minus 11 in the fourth quarter alone. You need to go to players that are having more success if you want to win games. Of course, obviously, we can talk about the process and all these different things. But as we've also talked about, these young players need the experience to help win games down stretches. And again, going back to the clutch statistics, they haven't been good in clutch time. And the players who haven't played in clutch time are the young guys. So maybe switching something up in that capacity would help.
I think the easy answer, though, Ethan, to your question of, like, why weren't you willing to do it tonight or as willing to do it tonight as you were in other situations is because every game is different. Every scenario is different. If Jalen Tyson would have played better than what he did tonight in the first 3 quarters, then maybe it's a little bit different, right? So I think you have to feel out the game, and I understand where you're coming from. I think you can make an argument for Tyrese Proctor. I think you can make an argument for somebody like Naquan Tomlin based on how he was playing. But based on the other guys that were out there and based on the lineup that Kenny was going to, the choice was between DeAndre Hunter and Jalen Tyson. And there wasn't a good answer between those two guys based on what transpired throughout the course of the game. Jalen Tyson was bad tonight. One of the worst games that he's been effective and he's been impactful. He's been one of their more reliable players throughout the course of this season. So maybe you do have to give him a little bit longer leash at some point. You probably do have to consider giving him a longer leash, but he was bad tonight too. So if the choice is between him and DeAndre Hunter, sometimes you just go with what you think is the best out of bad options that are facing you. I mean, it wasn't going to be Luke Travers, obviously. I think it's just a big picture, and it encapsulates what's going on here with the Cavs is that if your name is not Donovan Mitchell and maybe Jalen Tyson to a lesser degree, you're searching right now. Kenny Atkinson is searching. DeAndre Hunter is searching. I mean, they're trying to figure out what their identity is. They're trying to figure out the best way to play stylistically. They're trying to figure out like how much they care about the regular season. That's been a running theme since the beginning of the year. Everybody is searching right now. Kenny Atkinson said he got together with a bunch of his assistants before tonight's game, and they were talking about how do we weather the storm? How do we get out of this funk? Like, what do we have to do here? You saw Donovan Mitchell's face on the bench in Chicago. Jimmy was talking about these guys saying certain things. I was having this conversation with somebody in the NBA earlier tonight before the game, and it's like the Cavs are saying the right things about staying together, about dealing with adversity, about still holding each other accountable, and like all these different things, playing with spirit every now and then, all these different things that they think are positive signs of how they're dealing with everything that has happened at the beginning of this season. So they're saying those things. But I asked somebody, and somebody asked me earlier tonight, do you think they really believe that? If you listen to anybody in the locker room last year, they believed that they could win it. They believed that they had a special group. They believed that there was something about the team, the connectedness, the camaraderie, the style, the confidence, the belief. There were so many different aspects about this team that when these guys said, hey, we can do something special, you believed that they believed that, right? Now you're hearing these guys say all these different things about, hey, we're going to figure this out. Hey, I see positive signs. We're still connected. And you ask yourself, are they just saying this? I really wonder being around this team the last couple of weeks, I really wonder if they believe these things that they're saying right now. I have my doubts. I don't think that they believe that they can be the team that they thought they were going to be coming into this season.
The biggest one, I think the one saving grace that they might still be hanging on to is, well, we haven't had all our guys yet.
That's right.
Clearly, the problems are much bigger than that, clearly,
Right.
at this
Right.
point. but they can still use that as a crutch. And trust me, it is a crutch. It's a crutch right now because they've been close-ish to whole at times, close enough. We should have been seeing more signs of at least competency. Not even asking for best regular season point differential of all time, like they were flirting with last year, best offensive. Not even talking about that. Baseline competency. We have not seen enough of that. Here's the one that threw me tonight when Kenny went up there and just started. I mean, at a certain point, what do you say? He started talking about, yeah, we have trouble stopping these guys. They're a bad matchup. For a sidebar, if the Chicago Bulls are a bad matchup for you, you need to reevaluate some things.
Right.
But this is their style. It's not the Bulls. It's their style. Again, the Chicago Bulls are essentially a mirror. They can't score in the half court. They can only score if you make bad turnovers and shoot and don't secure your own glass. Or I'm sorry, and don't execute your offense and don't get back on defense. A lot of don'ts on your end have to happen to make the Chicago Bulls look good. The Cavs just did it 2 times in a row. But then it's not just the Bulls. It's this style in particular gives us some trouble. And it's the style of the Eastern Conference. Is essentially what Kenny said. It's the defining style of the Eastern Conference right now. Alarm bells are going off now. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's just the style that we need to go against to win basically any win basically any playoff series. We have a hard time matching up with that. But when we get healthy, he made some reference about like, yeah, we slowed Indiana down last year. Sorry, Indiana beat you in 5 games. That didn't happen. And I feel kind of weird nitpicking because Kenny, he doesn't know what to say.
He's searching.
He doesn't know what to. He's searching in real time. He's searching in real time. He got down there tonight faster than I've ever seen him get down to that press conference. I think he just wanted to get that over with. And he's riffing up there, and that's a little bit dangerous right now when you just don't. Kenny can usually his basketball knowledge is so vast that he can shoot the with anyone on any topic and come up with an answer that sounds good. He's a gift. He's a good speaker. He's an engaging personality. When it's not going well, and particularly when it's going as bad as it's going right now, which is, as bad as it could possibly be going. I really don't know what else could be missing here. It comes off different, man. Like this is really, really, really bad. I'll say it again. The style of the Chicago Bulls play gives us a lot of trouble. It's the Chicago Bulls. They're bad.
Yep.
If it's just one random bad matchup, fine. It's also the style that most of the conference plays.
Right.
What does that mean for you going forward?
I'm going to add 2 more things to this conversation. Number 1 is this is a massive week in the NBA, a massive weekend in the NBA, because there's something going on in Florida. It is called the G League Showcase. And from a G League standpoint, it's not very meaningful. Now, it is for the players because it's an opportunity for them to show out in front of all of the general managers and executives that are there in Florida. And that's why it's a big weekend, because all the decision makers for every team in the NBA are gathered in one place right now, the G League Showcase. And you know what's happening? There are teams around the league that are saying, hey, Cavs, what's your appetite for breaking this up? Are you willing to listen on Jared Allen? Are you willing to listen on Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland? What's your appetite for moving on from Max Strus, DeAndre Hunter, whoever it may be? Teams around the NBA see a vulnerable basketball team with the Cavs, and they're trying to see, they're canvassing the league just like the Cavs are, just like everybody else is, trying to figure out who's available, who's buying, who's selling, all those kinds of things. And the Cavs have to ask themselves, not because of tonight, what happened against the Bulls, but they have to ask themselves, what's our appetite for shaking up this roster? If we're having problems stylistically with the way that the game is being played right now, do we have the right personnel? Do we have the right personnel to handle how fast the game is? Is playing 2 bigs for however many minutes. Is that the right move for us? Do we need more youth? Do we need more speed? Do we need more athleticism? Do we need more size? What is it that we may need from a personal standpoint to try and fix what's going on here? That's one thing. The other thing that I'm going to add to this conversation is I spoke to two sources that are very close to the situation and in the know, and Chairman Dan Gilbert is incredibly unhappy about what he has seen from this basketball team. Now, there are decision makers in this organization that are saying, hey, Dan, we're going to get Max Strus back eventually. Sam Merrill's going to come back. Let's see this thing through. Let's see what this roster looks like when it's close to whole. We've only had so many minutes with the core four together, and when they have played, the core four has been obliterating opponents. Small sample size, of course. But as of now, it feels like that's what the Cavs are trying to relay, is that, hey, things are outside our control. Things may potentially get better when we get closer to full strength. But two sources with knowledge of the situation, very close to the situation, say that Dan Gilbert is very unhappy about what is going on. He turns on the games and he hears boos 4 times in the last 5 home games. Turns on games and sees the Cavs trailing by double digits again. Sees the Cavs leading for 1 minute in the second half of these games. And he's paying a huge luxury tax bill. It's the highest payroll in the NBA. It's the only team in the second apron. He's willing to do that, all of that, when he thinks the team has a chance to win a championship. When he believes in the group that he has. But based on what they've shown through the first 29 games, and the other thing is, like, it's not that early anymore. We're about, 35 to 37% of the season done? When you see this 29 games in, yeah, you start asking questions if you're the guy in charge of everything with this organization. And I think right now, it's fair for him to ask those kinds of questions. I don't think it's, push that button yet. I don't think it's like shake everything up yet. But you're at a point where you at least start to ask the hard questions. And I think that's happening right now.
The threshold for second apron and paying the highest luxury tax bill ever should be championship. I think we're all not necessarily saying anyone could have seen this coming. The Cavs have no chance to win the championship. Zilch. None. They're not beating Oklahoma City unless Shea gets hurt. And that's not a plan. Yep. That's crossing your fingers. We had Joel Lorenzi on yesterday. He told us, and I agree with him, Cavs against Denver, be serious.
Oh, come on.
Be serious. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. Jamal Murray is a proven playoff player. Be serious. Houston Rockets. You thought the next series was bad? Oh, buddy, I got news for you. And by the way, okay, so that's 3 West teams. I could probably name a few more that the Cavs wouldn't want to see. But that's 3 West teams, and that's the championship. That's what the threshold should be for paying what they're paying for this roster. Conference finals? Huh? You're a playing team right now. That's the reality. Right now. You're more talented than that, obviously. I don't think I don't think the Cavs are going to finish where they are in the standings right now. And even if they did, I don't think some of the top seeds in the East would be thrilled about playing them in the first round, given their talent. But conference finals, why do I have confidence in that right now? Why do I have confidence that you're going to beat one of Detroit or the Knicks? Or you can't beat the Bulls. You can't beat the Bulls. You can't be competitive with the Bulls. You can't keep the Bulls under 125. So why? Dan Gilbert's pissed. He should be pissed. There is a Grand Canyon-sized gap between what he's paying and what he's getting. So I totally understand that.
I think one of the other things about this conversation is that the Cavs are continuously talking about waiting for players to get back. And we've had the conversation on this podcast that Max Strus might not be back until after the trade deadline, maybe at the All-Star break. So I think that's a conversation that's difficult. You're potentially not going to have a chance to see what Max Strus looks like with this iteration of the roster if he gets traded before he gets back, right? And obviously, that's a difficult conversation because who wants to trade for an injured player? Depends on where he is in his recovery process. All these different things come into account. But the Cavs keep pointing to these injuries as a point of, well, when we get everybody back, if we get everybody back. And I think the if is the bigger portion of that than when, because this Cavs team, as Jimmy mentioned, has not been healthy since the beginning of the season. They have not played an entire game, a single game, with a fully healthy roster. And there's no indication that that is ever going to happen because who knows what happens when Max comes back? Who knows if there are going to be other players on the injury report? Who knows? That's how the NBA season goes. There's different situations that lead to injuries. There's different games. And then you're talking about what if we get to the trade deadline and nobody gets moved? What if we get to the All-Star break and there's 52 games left in the season and you have to figure out in the last 30, say everybody's healthy, you still have 30 games. That's it. 30 games to figure out if this team is capable of getting out of the play-in mix what they're in right now. Obviously, 2.5 games out of third place currently, so that's not too far out. But in hindsight, you still have to think about what is possible for this roster, for this team when they're healthy, and continuously looking into the future when the future is not certain, I think doesn't do this organization any justice. They're 15-14 currently. They're still trying to figure out their identity. They're trying to figure out their identity on both ends of the floor. Let's be clear about that. And it's difficult when it feels like anytime they take a step forward, they then take 3 steps back.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about the trade situation, guys, I think if they don't have an appetite for a drastic shakeup, right? And if they maybe push that until this off season, then the guys that you're looking at potentially departing, DeAndre Hunter, can you take DeAndre Hunter and turn him into 2 guys? Lonzo Ball, that hasn't worked out very well. He's got an option attached to his contract. Because of that, it's a pretty team-friendly deal that maybe another team would be willing to take on if the Cavs add something else to it. Dean Wade, who's going to be a free agent this offseason. Like I said, Max Strus, somebody like that. If they don't want to break up the core 4, and if they want to hold off on that potential decision, whatever decision it is that they make involving that until the offseason, then those are the guys that you're probably looking at potentially moving. But, teams around the NBA are going to ask about Darius. Teams around the NBA are going to ask about Jared Allen and whether they can try and get either one of those guys on a discount. And that's the other problem with this kind of conversation. If you're the Cavs and you're finally looking and you're more interested in moving Darius Garland, is this the time? He had a great game tonight. That was one of the positives of tonight's game. That looked like the old Darius, all-star version of Darius Garland, pre-injury Darius Garland. But this has been a really bad season for Darius, and this is still a tricky injury that he is still in the early stages of recovery from. So if you're a team around the NBA, you're probably saying to yourself, hey, I might be able to get this guy at a discount. Like, we probably don't have to give up a whole bunch for this guy. So if you're the Cavs, is this really the time that you want to start considering Darius Garland type trade offers? Think about what you might get back. Think about what these teams are going to offer you. Theoretically, you want to trade these guys when their value is at the peak. Is Darius there right now? No. Is Jared Allen there right now? No. So that's probably going to impact the kind of offers that the Cavs actually get from these teams. And they don't have to be deep trade conversations, but general trade conversations when these teams call and say, hey, like, what's your appetite for moving one of these guys? I just don't know that based on the way that Darius has played, the struggles that he's having with the toe still, the way that Jared Allen has played, the way that the game is going, I just don't know that the Cavs are going to get the kind of offers that they would value enough for guys that they seem to value more than other teams around the NBA seem to value those guys. The other thing that I would say about the whole Darius conversation, if the Cavs go that direction, there are two other point guards that are on this trade market, potentially. Trae Young and LaMelo Ball. And they have a lot of the same.
I like
that, Jimmy. Yeah, your two guys.
Let's go.
For what you want to say about them, they have a lot of the same questions about Darius. Size, defense, can you handle playoff level physicality? Can you handle playoff level intensity? What's your basketball level maturity for what playoff basketball is all about? So that makes, and John Moran would be another one. So you could potentially have like 4 different point guards with all-stars on their resume or all-star adjacent on their resume, all potentially out there. The other thing, where's he going to go? Who's a match right now? There's some early reporting about the Washington Wizards. Like, who are the Cavs going to block from the Wizards? Like, come on. Let's be serious. Minnesota makes sense, but like all of Minnesota's guys that make around the same salary as Darius to make it match, they want to keep. They consider valuable. They like Jaden McDaniels. They probably want to keep him. They think they might have a chance in the Western Conference. Beat Oklahoma City tonight. Dante DiVincenzo. They might want to keep him. I don't know. So, like, you start trying to ask yourself, okay, what's a potential trade fit for Darius? What's the trade out there, potentially, that's going to make not the most financial sense for the Cavs, but what's the one out there that's going to make them better? You got one? It's hard enough to pull off trades given the financial limitations that the Cavs have. They have to get really, really creative. And if you're on the trade machine long enough, you're probably going to find one that actually works, that works from a salary perspective. But then you have to ask yourself, does that make the Cavs better? Is that something that they're going to look at and say, that's a step forward for us. That's improvement for us. Somebody from the Washington Wizards, fuck. Yeah, I mean, come on, get out of here. You kidding me? Wizards? So it becomes a complicated conversation. But the point is, I think the front office and the main decision makers inside this organization, at the very least, they have to start asking themselves these difficult questions based on the way that this team has played and based on the expectations that this team had coming into the year and based on the way that they have been way below all of those expectations. And there are no easy answers. That's the other thing. There are no easy answers for them to get back to being the team that they thought they were going to be coming into this year. So this is the time of year where you start having to ask yourself those very difficult questions.
Bottom line, they're stuck. Want to talk about big trades? Darius Garland, Jared Allen. Those are harder to make because they're big contracts in the Cavs. Obviously, second apron has to be an exact match, or they have to cut some money. They have to cut some money in that trade, and then it's very hard. You want to talk about an impossible trade to make? Find me a trade involving Darius Garland for someone that he makes less money than him that would help the Cavs more.
Yeah.
You got that, Riddle? I don't think so. Jared Allen, same thing. And but by the way, everything that so the like Chris said, the logical trades are your Max Struess's, your DeAndre Hunters, your Dean Wades. But by the way, everything we just said about Darius Garland and Jared Allen also applies to that guy. DeAndre Hunter's trade value, wouldn't call it peaking right now. Dean Wade's trade value, non-existent. You're attaching capital to him. Max Strus hurt. Darius Garland hurt.
Lonzo Ball can't shoot.
Lonzo Ball. I mean, he's a nice, honestly, expiring you're not trading Lonzo Ball. You're trading Lonzo Ball's contract.
Right.
That's probably the most attractive of the assets that we've named so far. I mean, people still could believe in DeAndre Hunter. He's in a slump. 3-and-D wing, kind of the most coveted archetype in the league. But you start selling somebody else DeAndre Hunter long enough, they're just going to ask you, well, why don't you want him? Why don't you want him if he's so good? If he's worth whatever you're asking me? Why don't you want him? So I don't know what the trade is. And then the other thing about these quote unquote easier trades to make is that, like, we really think a half measure is what's like changing out a few role players. That's the problem here. No, it's not.
Right.
No, it's not. If it's a personnel issue, it's a big picture personnel issue. Like maybe if someone were to say the style that our conference plays doesn't fit the team that we're playing. If someone were to say that, then you'd have a big. Oh wait, someone said that tonight. It was the coach. Then you'd have a big picture personnel issue. Short of that, though, this is cultural, man. This thing feels broken right now. I'm not ready to say unfixable. I do think there's something to getting your mojo back. Evan Mobley will fix a lot of defensive issues. Will he make other people run back in transition? No, he will not. No, he will not. That's something that these Cavs have to discover within themselves, or Kenny needs to motivate them to do something. Something needs to change there. You have to play hard. That's step one. That's where you are. But Evan Mobley comes back. Maybe Max Strus might make guys run harder. I don't know. Max Strus. I saw Max Strus doing a lot of clapping on the bench tonight. I think that's what he just thinks he has to do right now. I think Max Strus is on the court, might take a different personality. Max Strus in the locker room might take a different personality when he starts playing. But like Ethan said, when's that happening? When's that coming down the pipe? Like some of these returns that are supposed to save the cat, like Evan Mobley's got a calf injury. I don't know if you heard anything about calf injuries recently. Teams tend to be pretty careful with those, and they tend to linger. The injuries are not an excuse for what's happening right now, but they certainly further complicate the path forward. This mythical, magical, once the Wonder Twin powers activate, once everyone gets back together, when's that going to happen? Like this, it just seems from a cultural standpoint, something is really off here. And I don't think that that's as simple as getting guys healthy.
And the culture is something that we thought was last year what the Cavs could rely on. That was the camaraderie, the chemistry, the culture that they had set, what Kenny Atkinson brought to this team. And I'm not saying it yet because I don't believe it to this standard, but Kenny Atkinson's the reigning coach of the year. And it feels like he's nearing being on the hot seat. But with all that being said, that'll wrap up today's episode of the Wine and Gold Talk podcast. But remember to become a Cavs insider and interact with Chris, me, and Jimmy by subscribing to Celtech. Sign up for a 14-day free trial or visit cleveland.com/Cavs and click on the blue bar at the top of the page. If you don't like it, that's fine. All you have to do is text the word STOP. It's easy, but we can tell you that the people who sign up stick around because this is the best way to get insider coverage on the Cavs from me, Chris, and Jimmy. This isn't just our podcast, it's your podcast. And the only way to have your voice heard is through subtext. Y'all be safe. We out.